Hi folks, what this video is about is my experience when I farmed at night. I'm talking about farming as you watch the sun go down all through the night and watching the sun come up the next morning. Now we did this back after Mount St. Helens blew ash because it seemed to work better at night. I could see my mark. We had two tractors we used. We had the Allis-Chalmers HD9 and the Steiger Bearcat. And most of the time I used the Steiger Bearcat because it sat up a little bit higher. Seemed to help a little bit. But as I've said in other videos, it didn't matter how fast you went, how slow you went, the ash just stayed with you. It's so very hard to see your mark. So I'd go up the field about 8 o'clock at night, check the oil, water, start the tractor, and I was rod weeding. I'd grease up the weeders and I'd get on the tractor and I would start going. And this would be like in July. I'd have the air conditioner on the tractor. I'd go and go, and then as the sun went down, I noticed it started getting cooler. Well, one of the things I did is I listened to the radio a lot. And one of our local radio stations had a program called Mystery Theater on the Air. It was like a radio show of a book, of mysteries. I listened to that all night, and every hour they had the national news. Well, I noticed after midnight, get about 2 o'clock in the morning, it got a lot colder. I would get out, I'd check my weeders and stuff. I would put on a light jacket then. Also, another thing I noticed, about 2 o'clock in the morning, the news changes for the next day because we're listening to news out here out west, and we're getting our news from the East Coast. So it's kind of interesting to listen to the news one day, then you listen to it as it started to change for the next day. So I would keep on rod weeding all through the early wee hours of the morning. About 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, I'd quit, and I'd go home and have breakfast. I'd go to bed, but one thing I couldn't get was I just couldn't get my sleep habit turned around. I'd get maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I didn't have any problem working all night long. I was just trying to get my sleep. We had other fields. We had probably our farthest field away was 15 miles. So when I had to move our tractor equipment, I'd do that easily in the afternoons. Come back home. I never could take a nap. I just couldn't, I just couldn't get it. I just never could take a nap. So as I think back on my experience farming at night, this is something I've never told my grandchildren, and I told my kids a little bit about it. And to anybody out here that's a farmer or rancher watching this video, this probably is not a very interesting video. But to somebody that hasn't, doesn't know anything about farming, or like my grandchildren, they might find it a little bit interesting how it was farming at night. There's a peacefulness during the nighttime hours after midnight. You're out in the field. I mean, I was so far away, there was no houses, no roads. The only lights I had were the tractor. And most of that summer we had the moon. We did not have cloud cover, so I had the light of the moon. And in one of the videos I talked about earlier, I used the moon as a focal point sometimes when the ash got so bad. Now out here in Whitman County, Washington, we have very steep hills. We go up and down, we go side by side. You cannot use auto steer. This is not like flatland farming. You cannot set your steering and just sit back and let it steer. It won't work in these hills because you're on a hillside and you're going up and you're going around and just going around like that and you go around and around like that. So anyway, that's my experience of farming at night.